Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Morning viewers, it is 7 a.m. and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet, and this morning Rhea isn't with us on this Friday morning, but I urge her to keep safe wherever she is this morning. Viewers, it's Friday, and by my checks, Friday the 18th of November 2022. We are indeed getting closer to Christmas as we prepare to have the celebrations of Christmas 2022. I walked into the Port Mall this morning and I'm seeing Christmas trees are out, and I'm certain they're going to be set up in full form as we head right into the season. You head into offices and private business places and so on, and you're seeing a number of Christmas decorations out. It's really that time of the year that we are heading into where our females find every opportunity to spend on the things that they love for this season. I'm not saying our gentlemen don't do it, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying females make that extra effort to ensure that we all as a family enjoy that season fully. Before I get into any further trouble, let's head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Julian. I am Candace Jackson, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Friday, 18th November 2022. The Tobago Festival Commission has requested that artists contracted by the THA for the Tobago Carnival be patient while the payment is processed. This announcement follows cries from artists such as Marvin Lewis, who claimed the THA was unable to pay performers. He pointed out that other international acts already received their full payment, while Tobagonians were not treated with the same expediency. The Festivals Commission, on the other hand, explained that they committed to honoring all agreements and never intended to disrespect Tobago's artists. However, it involves a process that requires a little more time. Meanwhile, former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner lost his appeal at the Privy Council on a judicial review to stop extradition proceedings. Warner is one of several FIFA officials wanted in the U.S. for 29 offenses related to fraud, corruption, and money laundering over 30 years. However, Warner intends to keep fighting. In a press release immediately after the ruling, Warner denied any wrongdoing. He described the allegations as a jealous retaliation from the U.S. for losing the bid to host the World Cup to Russia and Qatar in 2018 and 2022, respectively. Following the Privy Council's dismissal, the case can now proceed in the Port of Spain Magistrates Court. And now, Grenada's Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell stated that travel within CARICOM must be improved and that excuses which allow the problems to persist must be rejected. Mitchell was speaking at the recently held TT Manufacturers Association Awards, where he criticized the lack of cooperation from airlines and entities to provide efficient inter-island travel. He added, quote, "We don't ask whether roads are profitable. I don't think we ask ourselves, are we making money from asphalt in the roads? So it's difficult for me to understand why we ask, are we making money from airlines, if we recognize the importance of trade," end quote. Meanwhile, he is looking forward to Grenada strengthening its ties with Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to trade. And that was the news in 90 seconds. It is back to you, Julian.
Thank you very much there, Candice. Certainly some very interesting developments. Once again, in Trinidad and Tobago, we all started to pay very close attention to the situation involving, the former FIFA officials, Jack Warner and others, based on the ruling that would have come out yesterday. Very interesting developments that I'm sure we will all be keeping our eyes on, even as we head into that, season of football the world over. Interesting enough, right here, even within our very own space in Trinidad and Tobago, we continue to pay attention to our developments happening here. We have the, I would have noted even as early as yesterday. The People's National Movement in its quest with regards to its internal elections, the leadership elections, would have had some discussions and meetings taking place in Tobago, bearing in mind, notwithstanding the challenges that's being put forth by one of the candidates, Karen Yunus Tushera, presenting herself and raising some issues to go before the court in relation to this upcoming internal election scheduled for the People's National Movement. All right, at this point, viewers, we head on over to some birthday celebrations today. We're talking birthday celebrations. All right, and we get started, as I like to call her, Sister Ethne. All right, Sister Ethne Yearwood, want to wish you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings. We trust that you enjoy the celebrations today. And we have on screen with us Simonis Cruikshank. Simonis Cruikshank, we want to wish you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. It's Osei Archer, yes sir, and this is your day. All right, we trust that you'll be sending out, of course, birthday greetings to you coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. I'm sure many know this gentleman as Bass, Keyshawn Bass Smith. Wishing you birthday blessings, my brother. Trust that you enjoy the celebrations today. On screen with us now we have Lex Bovell. Lex Bovell continuing to represent us out there, and we want to wish you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings indeed. We know that you're going to enjoy the celebrations in full form. All right, and we have on screen Gabrielle Woods, and she's going to be 12 on Sunday, and that's Sunday the 20th, and this is coming from your dad, mom and brother, the entire family sending greetings out to Gabrielle Woods. All right, in full form. Yes, Gabrielle here on screen with us again. And we're sending out birthday greetings this morning. We have Callie London. Wishing you a happy birthday, Callie London. And we're heading straight on over to Ursula George Ayres. Ursula George Ayres wishing you a happy birthday. Coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. Yes, and this is, I know this face very well indeed, Natalie Douglas. Natalie Douglas, want to wish you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings. Certainly enjoy the celebrations. And this is a birthday shout out going to Roldan Reed, and he's celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Roldan Reed, we want to wish you a happy birthday coming from the Tobago Updates family. All right, and viewers, this morning we've got a photo there that we would have noted, again highlighted in the news. The Honorable Deacon Mitchell, a new Prime Minister of Grenada, being here in Trinidad and Tobago, and courtesy the Office of the Chief Secretary, we would have seen the coming together. And this picture particularly stood out to me because when we had the opportunity here via our Youth Wednesday with Aliyah hosting and being able to chat with Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, I remember that was one of the areas that he responded to, that he will certainly embrace the opportunity to meet with Chief Secretary Farley Augustine. So when this photo surfaced, quite interesting at the developments, and this would have been, as was just captured in the news, and they were at the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association President's Dinner and Award Ceremony that took place at the Hyatt Regency on Tuesday night. And here we see the meeting up of the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, Chief Secretary of Tobago, and the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. All right, viewers, at this point we give you an idea of what's happening in the rundown today on the Tobago Updates morning show. And this morning we begin with Janelle McConey-Critchlow, Giselle Dumas, and Dr. Samuel Schaaf. Giselle McConey-Critchlow, psychiatric social worker; Giselle Dumas, clinical psychologist; and Dr. Samuel Schaaf, psychologist, child adolescent, and mental health consultant. And this morning we're speaking World Children's Day 2022. You remember that on our Youth Wednesday segment, we started recognizing and celebrating our children this Wednesday. And therefore we continue the discussions in relation to World Children's Day 2022. This morning we'll also be getting some information and hearing from Rondell Fields, President of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And we're going to be speaking to their website launch. And finally, as we wrap this morning, we'll be chatting with Giselle Prescott, author, Finding My Way, the book launch. So that's just to give you an idea of what's happening in the rundown this morning. And let me just highlight some of those connecting with us on the live. I see Godfrey Moore in the mix, Auntie Dora with us this morning, Donna Mae Walcott, our very own youth host, Luke Trim. Morning to you. DB Spencer joining us on the live this morning. Wayne Clark connecting with us. Hazel Isaac. Classic Cuts by Akilan. Hey, and that's my barber, responsible each and every time. Remember, Classic Cuts located at Susu Lands. Connect with them on social media, Facebook or Instagram. All right, I see on the live also this morning QK Melville, Lisa James connecting with us out there. Crystal Tom Washington. I trust that you're tuned in via TV this morning as you're preparing to head on out to work. We want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to connect with us. Those joining us via TV, Gael and M&E TV. And those of you joining us via radio and listening in on your way. Those of you online with us, remember this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Lifespan is the affordable critical illness plan you need. Cover expenses up to $1 million. Tattoo Life. Guaranteed protection.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Was a while before Christmas, and all through the land, people was putting away house with very little money in hand. They was painting and cleaning and doing their chores, but I went to hunt for deals at American stores. Deals on living and dining room sets, on fridges and stoves, beds and cabinets, on washers and dryers, small appliances cheap, even TVs and stereos, prices just can't be beat. So let's Christmas together at American stores. After all, what they tell me, anything could be yours.
Anything can be yours at American stores.
Mamai Lakai Home Services. We specialize in cleaning of carpets and rugs, mattresses, living room and dining room sets, vehicle detailing, cleaning and sanitizing of homes and commercial spaces. We also do landscaping and tree cutting, pressure and power washing, floor care, fumigating and air purifying. You can also call us for professional painting services, babysitting and adult sitting. Call us now 333-4430 at Mamai Lakai Home Services. We take cleaning to another level.
Excuse me, Mr. Man. Playground rhymes. That's why I'm bringing back the playground rhymes. It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, 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 good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7:15 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. In this segment, we are chatting on World Children's Day 2022 and the Children's Adolescent Center Open Day. And on set with us, we have Janelle McConey-Critchlow, psychiatric social worker, and Giselle Dumas, clinical psychologist. Let me see if I get it right this time. It's Dr. Samuel Shafi, psychologist, child adolescent mental health consultant with the initiative associated with the Children's Adolescent Center Open Day activities. Morning to you all.
Good morning.
All right. And thank you so much for joining us on set. And as we get started this morning, I want you to start off, just giving us a little insight, the institution or the department or the area that you represent.
Okay, so we are professionals from the Child and Adolescent Center. That is, you could define it as the mental health unit for kids on the island, right? We provide therapeutic interventions for children between the ages of 18 to 17 years old, and we are located at 4th Street. That is the old administrative building up at the old hospital.
All right. So as we get started, when would we be celebrating World Children's Day 2022?
Well, World Children's Day is actually celebrated on the 20th of November every year. So we at the Child and Adolescent Center, given that we are tasked with providing interventions for kids on the island, mental health, we decided that, coming out from the pandemic, how could we celebrate this day? How could we make children more involved as they reintegrate into society coming out from the pandemic? So we decided that, we could do a mural painting reflective within the community of the theme for this year, for World Children's Day, which is equality and inclusion for every child, and the World Mental Health Team, which was making mental health for all a global priority. So we want to tie in those two teams and do a mural painting reflective of that. And that will be happening on Sunday, which is World Children's Day.
All right, so tell us, as we bring you in here, Giselle Dumas, the idea behind and the concept with this mural painting, who would be involved? Select persons will be brought in there to participate? Can Tobago far and wide, if I'm interested in getting involved, I want to bring my child to get involved in this? Tell us, who is it open to?
Well, we extended our invitations to not only the children at the clinic, but within the wider community. So we invited definitely the children from schools within the within that area, and also we extended it to various stakeholders who generally interface with us. So, for example, we extended invitations to Children's Authority, to Healing with Horses, various NGOs to come and participate in the activities. If you would wish, yes, definitely you can also, invite children between those age groups to come and be a part of it.
All right.
The vision is, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
No, the vision is just to have them engaged, to interact with each other, because as Janelle said, coming out of COVID, these activities generally, there were so many restrictions, and social interaction was a main part of what, they weren't allowed to do. So we wanted to have an activity that will allow that engagement and interaction to build community awareness.
I'm hearing you all talking, and I'm just remembering my daughter after days of the pandemic, like, oh my God, I just want to see my friends. I just want to help. What has the response been in terms of children and young people transitioning into this return to being outside, notwithstanding what might still be the fear of parents, even in these times?
Well, okay, go ahead, Giselle.
Go ahead, Giselle.
Well, I'll just give my opinion, and then Janelle can give hers. I think for the most part, there was a lot of excitement, but at the same time, that bordered with a lot of anxiety that came with what, not knowing what to expect when they reintegrated. So those were some of the concerns that we had to address. And then also coming out of it, we realized that there were a lot of underlying mental health conditions that definitely were brought to the surface and to the forefront as a result of the pandemic and the restrictions that it involves. So that's what, you know, in my opinion, while there was that general theme of excitement, you know, there were a lot of other serious issues to deal with.
As we speak to World Children's Day, how important do you all believe it is ultimately to move our children away from the thinking that a lot of adults and older persons have? Once you're talking psychologists and psychiatrists, things real bad. You know what I mean? How important is it for us to move our children away from that kind of perspective and thinking?
I think I will leave this one for Dr. Shafi. As I know, so
welcome, Dr. Shafi. And you know, as they say, straight into the hot seat, Dr. Shafi. Right? And the question to you is, as we speak World Children's Day, how important is it for us to change that culture and mindset that exists among our adults and older folks? And from the time you're talking psychologists and psychiatrists, things gone real bad and it have no turning back.
Yes, we're aware of that, and that is why the journey has been very tough. So what we are focused on is actually engaging with families and caregivers through education, to maybe direct or indirect interaction, school engagement, collaborating with different agencies. Like what Giselle said, the psychologists, the pandemic brought to the fore many new cases that we saw of children who actually developed mental health symptoms after the pandemic. More so anxiety and depression, who were never in contact with either psychology or psychiatry before the pandemic. So we're getting there. It is difficult because of the cultural background, the cultural understanding, the fear of mental illness. We know that as we continue to educate the population without giving up, that we will eventually be able to more or less capture the heart and the mind of the adults. And more so, the other thing we tend to see a lot is that even where adults do not believe in mental illness, when they are pushed to the wall, against the wall, when it comes to the children's symptoms and behavior, they tend to seek help. They come to us. And so that fear then becomes very, very minute compared to the challenges they face at home. So they come to us because the challenges at home in terms of coping with these children become too much that they seek help wherever they get it.
Right. So tell us, Dr. Shafi, as we speaking here, what's the broader objective of the Children's Adolescent Center that we're going to be looking forward to the open day.
Okay, the broader objective is basically to more or less further expose ourselves to the community, to engage even the people who receive care at the center, to let them know the kind of services we provide. And why we're using the mural and the different things we're using is a method of communicating with children generally and adolescents. Not just verbal, you use the images in order to be able to get your messages across. And then they'll be given the opportunity to ask questions. And then we'll be able to interact with them. I will be there as well, so everybody will be there to interact with them. Remember, at the center, we provide a broad range of services that include not just the treatment of mental illness through medication. We have the psychological intervention, we have the social intervention, and we have the mental health intervention in the community. So that we tend to look at holistically all the possible areas where these children may be having problems that make them present with mental health symptoms and mental health disorders.
All right. So just remind us again, I know that the activities for the mural painting and so takes place on take place on World Children's Day on Sunday. When is the open day scheduled for?
Okay, so the open day would happen the following day, which is on the 21st. And added to what Dr. Shafi said, the idea behind the open day is where we partnered with persons who provide services also to our clientele, because you know they may come to the center and as other steps in helping to improve their condition, they need to access services from another agency. So maybe speech, which is internal with TRHA, or external, maybe healing with horses and so forth, and the parents are not aware of these services. So we also invited those partners to come set up a table so that they could also interact with the parents while they're there. So they are learning, okay, apart from CAC, I could access this service for my child as well. So that is the whole idea behind the open day. So parents are asked to come out and be a part, come and find out what we do at the center, what other agency, what services they provide that would help in improving your child's mental health or well-being.
Tell us a little bit about these forms, Giselle Tomas. I heard healing with horses, I've heard of the use of art. Tell us about these different methods utilized to get children and even adults in terms of expressing ourselves.
Well, as you correctly said, they're just other methods of intervention geared toward emotional expression. So while while most times we're focused on talk therapy or that type of interaction, we try to, bridge that gap with children and what their main areas of how can we meet the child at their level. So through play, through art, through interaction, those are other methods through which they can express themselves in a therapeutic setting.
So is it that the process in terms of, as you said, in a therapeutic setting, it starts with talk and then you decipher where, or is it that you try to get an understanding of, your clients or the children that you deal with? How does it work?
Definitely.
I'm putting you into work mode.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. In terms of when each child is an individual, so there's not one hat that is going to fit every case. So as you correctly identified, through my experience, children engage more through play and a less formal setting. So definitely you do try to have that one-on-one interaction with them. And again, you meet them at the level that they're at through play, through art, through games as well. So if a child comes in and they may present more mature, however, and are more willing to express themselves through talk therapy, or, then you kind of definitely use that medium and that approach versus, another child who might prefer a different method. The whole point is to get them to open up and to build that therapeutic relationship and alliance with them so that you can see how best you can move forward and help them.
All right.
Also, added to what Ms. Dumas would have said, what I would have observed in engagement with some of my kids through the art therapy. So, say for example, a child comes in today, but they're not necessarily, they don't want to talk, right? I would give them an activity of painting, right? And I would say, like, paint your mood. And that could be a conversation starter because you look at things in the painting and you pinpoint them and you use that as discussion to pivot on to get to the deeper issues. Because sometimes, as Giselle rightfully said, they express how they're feeling through these types of therapy that we also provide.
Excellent. Dr. Shafi, would you say that the society is probably warming up a little bit more and becoming a little bit more open to engaging when it comes to, particularly mental health issues and other areas as similar?
I think what is happening is that I think as a society we've been pushed to a point where we actually have no choice but to engage with mental health professionals. If you look at what is happening in the schools, and also don't forget the fact that even as much as we shy away from mental illness, majority of us will still need mental health service providers when we get older, when we get into the 80s or 90s. So that it's a matter of not having a choice in engaging mental health service providers for many of us who are forced to do so. For those who do not have to, maybe because their problems are more minor, they don't have to engage mental health service providers. Yes, correct, you are right. The society is learning more. The level of education we have now compared to 1975 is quite different about mental health problems. What we know now, if you look at the current thinking about mental illness, we now know that mental illness begins very early, unlike when we are in the past where people used to think that mental illness were more or less adult illnesses. Now we know that mental illness starts from very, very early. And that is why in diagnosing, we now take into consideration the same set of symptoms and behavior that we use in making diagnoses in adults to also make diagnoses in children. However, there may be variation depending on the age of the child. So we have no choice as a society, and then we are more educated, and we see the role of internet and social media where people can actually, if I say you have depression, you can go online and just Google and you get all the symptoms. In reality, now it has gotten to a point, before people come to us, they actually know what they suffer from, because people are very inquisitive. They now go, they type in and say, oh, I think my child has autism. Oh, I think my child, doc, is it bipolar? So that's the stage where we are at this point in time, where individuals are taking the responsibility to more or less research their symptoms, research the behavior of the children, and seeking help in the process. Whereas in the past, those things were not available. In the past, the only way you get information is by going before your doctor and sitting down and asking questions. And then you take whatsoever the doctor gives to you and run with it. But it's no longer so. People do research, and now they even challenge the doctors in situations where they think the doctors are not right, because based on their findings and their findings from research. So things are changing, and we continue to change.
You hit the nail on the head with my follow-up there. Does it make it now even more challenging for practitioners in the field, based on what we call these now social media doctors that are certified based on their research and so on, only preliminary by way of Google and social media? Does it make it more challenging now?
We call these Google doctors. The point is that it's not just restricted to those of us in psychiatry and psychology. It also affects those in internal medicine and other areas as well. Yes, it is more challenging now, but the problem that then tend to come with that is that we are open more to litigation, because these people are very knowledgeable. So in the past, you can make your mistake and explain it away. But now you cannot explain your mistake away, because people are very educated.
All right. Tell us, as we speak, the Children Adolescent Center, I want to get a sense for the parent looking on, and probably, you're dealing with a child where you're observing certain things, but you haven't gotten to an extreme point. At which point does a parent seek some kind of help or support in treating with a child?
Okay, what we normally advise, we tend to be more open. A parent can start from any level at any point. You can start from your pastor, you can start from your imam, you can start from your pundit. If you don't want to start at that point, you can start from your GP. Start the conversation. When you start the conversation with your general practitioner or the health center doctor, or even the nurse, they, because of the level of knowledge they have, they will be able to advise you the next level, what to do next. In terms of, okay, you present with this type of, you are telling me your child has these symptoms and this behavior. Is this something we can deal with at this point in time as the primary care level? If it's something they cannot handle, then they refer you to the next level. We prefer that method of escalation than somebody who doesn't need to be in a CAC or child adolescent center, which is more or less like a tertiary level care. The only time you come to us is if every other person has failed and have not been able to resolve the problem. So we are more or less the last port of call when other things have been tried and failed.
All right. And Julian, I want you to remind our viewers again what takes place on Sunday for World Children's Day.
Okay, so on Sunday we have the mural painting that is happening up up at the 4th Street, but at our office. So you know that big corner, the big wall, that is what we will be painting. So that is on Sunday. And as you can see the flyer there, we are asking persons to come out from 9 a.m. and we'll be there up until 3. And on Sunday, we have the open day where we invite parents to come out and see what the services that we offer and other agencies offer.
Open day on Monday?
On Monday.
All right. So the open day takes place on Monday from 9 to 4. And that's also up at 4th Street.
Yes.
Where you can get. So whether or not you believe you have a challenge, it's an opportunity to come and
out,
see
yes.
The information that the center has to
Definitely.
offer. And Giselle, can you remind us of your contact information for those wanting to get in contact and follow up with your section up there dealing with the Child and Adolescent Center?
Contact information?
Contact information for your unit.
All right. So the contact number is 660-4744 extension 3401, or you can contact us via email at caac@trha.co.tt.
All right. Dr. Shafi, as we close this morning, your words of encouragement to our children as we approach World Children's Day on Sunday.
So my word of encouragement is to let them know that we know what they are going through at different level, at different age group. And when they come before us, we see them and we're quite open-minded. That when you come to the CAC, you're not there because the doctor wants to prescribe a medication or you need to be put on medication. You're there for us to find out what is actually happening and to also find out how well we can help you in terms of developing to your real potential. So majority of the children that come to the clinic do not go on medication. Majority of these children actually require what we call psychosocial intervention. That is intervention from the psychologist and intervention from the social worker or the intervention for the mental health officer. So that we tend to do more or less like a wrap-around support where we look at school support, we look at home support, and we look at other community support as well when it is necessary.
Thank you very much there again. I'm going to leave it there this morning. On set with us, Janelle McConey Critchlow, Giselle Dumas, and Dr. Samuel Shafi as we speak World Children's Day and the Children Adolescent Center Open Day. And remember, the open day happens next week, Monday. And there is the mural painting activity that will also be taking place up at the 4th Street location. That happens on Sunday. So let's remember to connect and go out and support. You may learn something new as we celebrate with our children for World Children's Day. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. At this point, we remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Welcome to Lamarche Parfait Day Spa and Wellness Center, your premier spa experience located at Bonaccord, Tobago. Visit us today for facials, cellulite treatments, body contours, body treatments, pedicures, manicures, and much more. We have gift cards for all occasions and corporate events. Connect with us on Facebook at Lamarche Parfait Day Spa or call us 273-7772.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you.
Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Excuse me, Mr. Man. Playground rhymes. That's why I'm bringing back the playground rhymes.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7:42 a.m. this morning, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. We have online with us this morning, coming up in this next segment, Rondell Fields, President of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Morning to you, sir.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. As we start the conversation this morning, just to give us some general updates, what's been happening with the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago before we dive into your official website launch?
Yeah. So one of the major things is that we rebranded in 2021 to a more inclusive name, which is now the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I think we found that was important because we were generally representing fatherhood in its entirety, whether you were single custodial parent, whether you were just having access to your child, or whether you were in a nuclear relationship, you represented fatherhood and the empowerment and encouraging of good fatherhood throughout our society. So, beyond that, we've also been highlighting, we've always been highlighting, whether it be pressing issues, we've also been advocating for change. We would have secured a meeting with the Attorney General. We had to put it off because the dates didn't work well for both of us, but we will be meeting very soon. So, that's promising, seeing that we never had a meeting with the last AG for over the last 4 or 5 years.
All right. How important has this organization been within our space, particularly where the focus, as many would say, the law seems to always give way and the general focus always seems to be women and children. And then, you might even have some animals there before you start to consider the feelings of men. How important has this organization been in really trying to advance that thinking with regards to keeping men in focus? Because as much as we are the strength, within families and workplace and societies, we still got feelings as well. We still don't want to be forgotten. How important has that been?
Bro, to be quite honest with you, I think I now realize how important it was for this move. At first, in the beginning, myself and comrades, we may have thought it was all about equity in the courts. It was all about a family court issue. It was all about just parenting and men wanting to be able to parent their children in a more meaningful way. But then I started, and I think a number of us, the executives, started to realize this was bigger. This is about male issues, and the way that we've abandoned them, and the way that we've pushed them to the corner, we've made them seem unimportant. Things like male suicides and stuff. I mean, men killing themselves every other day in Trinidad and Tobago. Men killing men. Well, look at the height of the numbers when it comes to murders. I mean, as I was saying just a while ago, 90% of the times you go out on the street, the homeless person is a man. 90% of the times, you have the drug addict or what we call the piper in our area is a man. 90% of the times, as I said before, when you open a newspaper, is a man being murdered. So it's really, 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 really tragic. We even seen men now losing their lives on the jobs. We saw 4 men lose their life underwater, working hard till they die. A man was crushed at TCL just recently. We saw a man die at Point Lisas when he was welding. So men are actually working themselves to death, and we are still saying that men ain't good. So I am now even more so appreciative that we've been able to be a voice. However, we need more voices. We need other songs. Single Fathers Association, or the Fathers Association as we branded now, cannot be the singular voice for men in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the Caribbean, because there are Caribbean countries like Anguilla and Barbados looking to us because we have a Fathers Association, and they go through a lot of male issues and not having any groups truly ventilating it. And I'm not saying there aren't other groups out there like Carryman and these other groups there as well. I'm sure that push certain male narratives as well. But I think, I mean, I want to say so humbly that we've been able to make a significant impact on our society, whereas we've gotten not only the members of society, but even the leaders to say that these fellas really have some points when they're speaking. And I'm just hoping that we see action on it. I've seen in some regards stuff like paternity leave in certain places starting to be increased. So the traditional 3 days that a man would get for the year, I'm starting to see places. I've seen flow. I've seen places, certain authorities in Trinidad and Tobago now giving at least half or sometimes equal the amount of paternity leave as maternity leave, so men could actually be a part of raising the child from the stage of baby. We leave men out of that and then come and say, fathers step up, fathers mind your children, fathers be in your children's life. But we leave them out of the public facilities when the child is being born, unless they go to a private facility. If you don't do Lama's classes, you can't go and see a child, the birthing of your child. Then we leave them out again when the child is being raised and the mother is left to raise the child by herself. The father nowhere around to assist her, whether she may have had some surgery or some illness during the event itself. And then we have the goal to come and tell fathers or tell men step up when we in society and we systemically have excluded men out of the lives of their children and excluded the issues or pushed to the side or the back burner a lot of issues that pertain to men.
You have touched on such pertinent points there, and as a father myself, I remember asking, what exactly am I supposed to do with 3 days? Just say all the best in terms of leave. So very interesting points that you're raising there in terms of treating with fathers and you know, as men, giving that a further level of responsibility. So we're really hoping for certainly progress there in your upcoming meetings. But today we also want to chat about your website launch. Give us a little insight, because this organization has been around for some time, and you are now also transitioning to incorporate, you know, in terms of that online technology. Tell us about this website launch.
All right. I mean, this is something that we believe was very, very is necessary. We needed this, and we think this is another strategical part of our reaching out, outreach to men, women, children in our nation. Because I always remember when I started, then the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, there was nowhere in the region you could find any information on the family court process. There was no way you could find about custody, no way you could find information on access, no way you could find information on co-parenting, shared parenting, any of these issues pertaining to parenting or pertaining to the judicial services being provided. And I had to reach out to Australia, to an association called the Lone Fathers Association, headed by then the president then, Mr. Barry Williams, to find out about the approach to advocate, the approach to lobby, the approach, and just to get general definition of things. So there was no place unless I decided to go to a lawyer's office to pay to find out just general information on these things. And so you will enter into a space and you will totally confused on what you're going to face or what you're going to deal with. And I think that's why it was important for us, definitely. I think that's why it was important for us to amalgamate, as you rightfully say, over a decade of experience, over a decade of consultations we have had, a decade of hearings. We are on the website. We have a video tutorial page. We're going to see videos of our joint select committee hearings. You're going to see videos of us having our consultations, Fathering Society issues and solutions, and our morning shows. So, I mean, if you just have issues and general things, and sometimes even more intricate things, you will go to these videos and you could see Rundle Field, see Wendell Grant, see Marlon Anderson treating with an issue with somebody else, but it very much applies to you. So you get instant access to information, and that is why it's important to us. Also, another very important part, we also have a live outreach page on there. So that page you're going to have for your request and contact information, whatever issue you may be having at that point in time. We are going to have a live podcast bi-weekly, every bi-weekly, Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. And you go on there between there, you put your issue, put where you're from, what you want to learn on, what the challenge you're having right now, whether you are a man or woman. It is not just for fathers alone, because we want people to parent better. As little matters that we could get to reach before the court, because you don't need to go there. Or even if you need to go before the court, you and the father and the mother could go there in agreement to something they want to see happen. They don't need to go to trial. And that is what we want to try to encourage people to do, to be able to shelve their past intimate issues so that they could say, let me at least like each other to parent better, to come up to something that's be beneficial in our children's life going forward.
Again, touching on the philosophy, we may no longer enjoy good relations, but let's make decisions for the sake of our child, which is the primary responsibility there in between. What would be the name of the website, and how would persons be able to access it, and when would they be able to access it from?
Right. From tomorrow morning, it's going to go live, and we're doing that to commemorate International Men's Day. International Men's Day is tomorrow, the 19th of November. The website is going to be www.tfatt.com. The website again, tfatt.com. That's actually the Fathers Association Trinidad and Tobago. And we're going to be launching from tomorrow, International Men's Day. So we really want people to utilize our website, and we're going to keep uploading videos as more information, uploading interviews, and we just want you to go there and take access, make full use of that access hub. It's going to be filled with information. As I've said before also in other spaces, it's the pristine place for undergraduates to visit. You're going to see our issue paper there. We have a library on the web page as well. So you're going to see our issue paper there. That's a study we did in collaboration with the Emancipation Support Committee and the European Union on the study of the family code. You're going to find a lot of information, basic general information on access and custody. You'll see the percentages of access and custody, the statistics that has been awarded over the years in Trinidad and Tobago. You're also going to see we have our 2 joint select committee reports posted there as well. So for the undergraduates, a number of undergraduates always reach out to us. You all could go there and do it, because a lot of them do their thesis on our organization. You're going to be able to access these documents there. They're downloadable, and they will be accessible to you.
All right. And just before we wrap this morning, Rhonda, just tell us our contact information for persons wishing. How do they connect with the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago?
All right. So as we said, our new line of contact would be via the outreach podcast. It's most meaningful. It's the way, I don't want to sound like everybody else, but we've been under-resourced for the last 10 years. It's been 3 or 4 men, and 3 or 4 men trying to navigate the issues of hundreds of men between Trinidad and Tobago for the last decade. I've seen men around me crumble, and that's why we decided that we want to do this live podcast, and we want people to attend because we're going to be taking out of our times to get done for 2 hours bi-weekly. So we want to address everything. Once I give you the commitment, once you put up a question there, it will be addressed on those podcasts. And we want you all to come because a lot of people have the same issue, and it's difficult for to answer the same question to 10 people or 15 people for outreach officers to do that daily, and they've been doing it. They're volunteer based, they have jobs of their own. Watch me, they've paid such a service to Trinidad and Tobago, and I tell you now, they may not even be awarded. God has to award them for that. But we would like to build this new online presence where we have a host and a group of parents, men and women, that we could positively impact so that they parent better going forward.
All right, thank you very much there again. And Rondell Fields, just before you head off, you see our viewers help us to keep in touch as well. As one of our viewers have indicated, I have to join with her, June Phillips-Pierre. Love the background and that heritage picture of the dirt oven bread here in our Tobago space. Well done indeed. Thank you very much again for joining us here this morning. And that was Rondell Fields, president of the Fathers Association. No longer Single Fathers, now rebranded to the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, speaking to a number of the issues. And tomorrow, International Men's Day, they'll be launching their website. So remember to connect with them it's the TFATT.com in terms of connecting with the website for their website launch tomorrow. All right, viewers, and from here we head straight on in. This morning we're talking Finding My Way, the book launch. So we're moving from website launch to the book launch, and this morning we are chatting with Giselle Prescott, author. Morning to you.
Good morning, Julian.
And how are you feeling this morning?
I'm good by the grace of God. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And I understand that I have the privilege of interviewing Giselle Prescott this morning. Very good. Your connections to Rhea Richardson George?
Yes, that's my friend.
All right.
And sister.
All right. So Rhea Richardson George, I'm helping out here this morning with your very good friend and sister, Giselle Prescott. And so as we start the conversation this morning, Finding Me Again, as I see on your book, tell us a little bit, let's start in terms of what would have been the story, the rationale behind coming up with this. What made you move in that direction? I need to document this, and I'm assuming it speaks to your very own life experience, but I need to document this. I need to make a move in that direction.
Okay, so after experiencing one of the hardest seasons in my life, where my husband was unfaithful and left, and soon after that my mother passed away, it was really, really tough for me. And I felt as though like I had lost it all. But in truth and in fact, I didn't. It was that season really propelled me into finding me again. All that I've been through, you feel rejected, abandoned. I took time out after the separation to do some introspection and search me to see who am I really. Because, after going through that pain, that emotional pain, and you're going through that, you just need some semblance, And I took that time out and decided to do some introspection, see who Giselle is. And, through that period, I reached a trajectory in my life where I realized that I was lost. At first I thought I was lost in him, but in truth and in fact, I was lost in trying to be everything to everyone else and not being who I was created to be, to fulfill purpose.
Tell me, is this your first book, Giselle?
Yes, it is my first book.
What was that journey like for you, getting to that point of, where you are today to produce and to have it in place? Because it's one thing, just as you said, to have the circumstances or the situation that push you in a direction to really recognize, I need to document this, I need to put it together. But that process that brought you to this stage of being able to have your first book.
Okay, so in 2017, I would have spoken to God and said, Lord, I'm stop fighting you now. I want to do what you would have me to do. And there was something agitating inside of me. I knew there was something that I needed to do. And I met someone, Dr. Nadine Collins. She became my coach and mentor. And through doing some programs with her, I was able to gain clarity on what I needed to do. And during those programs, I had to tell my story, because she would say, you have a story in there to tell. You know, what you have been through, you will be able to help others, inspire and empower others. And through that, I would have gained clarity through a program I did, Runway to Soar. And then I went into a speaker mentorship program that I did with her as well. And there is where the story started to birth. And then I entered into this elite book coaching program. And this is where I began to write. So I began to write this book last year in the pandemic, September. And it was published September this year. I finished wrote the book somewhere in April thereabout, submitted the book, and WOW Publishing Company, which Dr. Nadine is owned, they would have done the editing, book covering, and everything, and put it together for me after I did all the writing. Yes.
All right. And where will persons be able to access this book?
Okay, so the book is on Amazon, and they can also contact me, and I will be able to let them know exactly where to find this book. Also, at the book launch on Sunday, books will be available at the book launch on Sunday. It's at the Scarborough Library Auditorium from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Persons can contact me at 489-6863 as well as 344-7193 if they need to get a book, and also to attend the book launch on Sunday at the Scarborough Library
Auditorium. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about this book launch. Remind us again, I know you said it's taking place at the library. Remind us of the time also, and I want to go in a little bit to what can we expect?
Okay. All right, so as I said, the book launch is on Sunday, the 20th of November, this Sunday, at the Scarborough Library Auditorium from 4 to 6 p.m. At that book launch, I will be sharing a bit of what I have inside the book, so persons can understand and persons can know what the book is all about. Basically that I will also be doing book signing as well, and persons can purchase their books there as well.
All right. What's the approximate cost for the book?
The book is 150 TT.
All right, 150 TT. So a simple 150 TT. So how many chapters are we going through? What would you have covered? Give us a little sneak peek into some of the areas that might have been touched on within your book.
Okay, so it's 12 chapters. The first chapter is my childhood days. The second chapter is encountering my first love. Then the third chapter went into He Changed My Life. Then the hardest season of my life. Then Finding Me Again. And I went into, after Finding Me Again, the whole practical approach of rediscovering me, redefining me, and repurposing me. And then I would have gone into like faith and focus, and as well as some lessons that I learned during that season. And the final chapter speaks about This Too Shall Pass.
Would you say, and it's something I've always grown up with, my parents have the philosophy that as challenging as things may be in life, the good Lord is always trying to teach us a lesson in some way, form, or fashion. Now, looking back at what you've been through, would you say most definitely the direction you see yourself heading now is that it has really helped you to probably be more aware, be more informed, more focused in areas and so on?
Definitely, because I would say, sometimes pain produces purpose, and out of the ashes there's beauty. And I would say, going through that, yes, I may would have had some some reservations, I have some regrets, but it propelled me into destiny. It propelled me of rediscovering me, redefining me, and repurposing my life. Being able to rebuild my life after that divorce or that loss that I would have experienced. It really helped me to know who I am, and really helped me to be able to empower others and encourage others and show them the practical steps I would have taken to be who I am today.
I'm looking at you and I'm just thinking, Rhea, saying very powerful, Giselle. Very powerful. Because I want to touch on what might be, an uncomfortable issue for many. Because we have people in society going through much. but you are so consumed with trying to match this perfect image in society that you have yourself in a struggling situation, you are in challenges and so on, and you refuse to come out of that because I'm just so focused on maintaining what is that prim and proper image to keep all happy and satisfied. What do you say to those persons in society, particularly based on your very own experience and taking that decision, not just to come out of it, but even to go further now and document?
I know that it can be painful because it was painful for me, but I had to come to a place where I said I would have done that introspection, do that introspection and take that mask off, you know, and be real, be honest with yourself, be honest with God and see where you're at, because in order to heal, we first have to be honest with ourselves, honest with God where we at, so that we could take that first step of that healing process and moving forward. And one thing that would have helped me, forgiveness. Forgiveness plays a very major role in emotional healing and being able to move forward, because if we don't forgive, we'll remain stuck and will not be able to grow and move forward. So that was the first step I had to take, and that would have really helped me to start to really grow and move forward and really be able to find me again, rediscover, redefine, and repurpose my life.
Indeed, and you have me all smiles. There was a point in my life where I would say clearly, I can try to forget stuff, you know, I can try to forgive, but I'm not going to forget, and sometimes I try to forget, but I really have not forgiven. But you've made a very valid point there in terms of really utilizing that, because we have even seen ways when you fail to do that, and I'm certain you can confirm, it's as though you allow the past to still have a grip on you.
Definitely. Because when we fail to forgive, we are, and I would put that in the book as well, you know, forgiving myself as well as forgiving him. And when we fail to forgive, we are carrying around the weight of that person, and they are holding us in prison. So when they are holding us in prison because we are carrying their weights, when we forgive, there's a release that we can be able to move forward. We may not forget, but that forgiveness and that healing that takes place within us, it helps us to really take that step forward and move forward.
Excellent, very encouraging indeed. As we wrap this morning, just remind us again where, when, and what will be taking place.
Okay, so Sunday, the 20th of November, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Scarborough Library Auditorium, I would be launching my book, Finding Me Again, A Practical Approach to Rebuilding Your Life After Divorce or Any Loss. So this book is not just for those who may have gone through divorce, but anybody who would have suffered loss or pain or rejection or abandonment. There are practical steps here for you. So you can join us at the Scarborough Library RSVP. You can contact me at 344-7193 or 489-6863.
And just to be clear, it's not just bashing all men, but specific to moving beyond that as a woman.
Yes, the book is not about the divorce. The book is about my life story of finding me again and practical approaches of how you can rebuild your life after any loss. So it's not about bashing.
All right, so ladies, you heard that out there. Yes. It's not about bashing all men.
And it's for men as well.
Yes, because some tend to feel naturally, if I have had one bad experience, ultimately, you know, as we would say, you know, they don't want to have all men bad, or if we go into the, you know, the Tobago dialect, all man bad. So that's not the case, ladies. That's not the case. And similarly, on the flip side, a gentleman, not because you've had a bad experience, and the book caters to both men and women, being able to speak to that experience. So even, you know, my cameraman here, and Candice and the team and director there, that may have challenges from time to time. Let's not just rub the entire gender the wrong way. Very important that. So remember to connect on Sunday. Takes place, telephone contact 344-7193. So remember to make contact and check out there at the Scarborough Library on Sunday as we speak to the book launch, Finding Me Again, that will be happening with Giselle Prescott, author. So thank you very much again, Giselle, for joining us on set this morning. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support. Those of you joining us via TV, those listening in via the radio, and those of you connecting with us online. Quick shout outs as we run out to Joan Phillips Spear, Tabitha home, and she's saying, and Tabitha's home is saying, powerful woman of God. Commendations indeed. And shout outs as well this morning on the live with us, Macan Hislop, Pearl Murray Beard, Cynthia Branch. All right, and we want to thank each and every one of you, Carol Fraser Davidson, each and every one of you for continuing to connect with the Tobago Updates morning show. It's It's Friday. And as Rio would say, we look forward to this day because we all get that opportunity to have a restful and enjoyable weekend. So you have to take down the voice for that. But don't leave just yet. We're heading straight on over to GMT with Candice. But see you on Monday, folks. Bye-bye.
She watched her 4-year-old son struggle with limited face-to-face interaction during the pandemic. This experience propelled Iana Dell Darlington Jordan Benjamin to become author of the book I Am Well. She says a lack of communication between parent and child can result in mental health issues. In extreme cases, it can even lead to suicide. Iana says proper parent-to-child communication is critical to the well-being of children. Writing this book is her way of contributing to the improvement of parent-child relationships in the 21st century.
It's a mental health book. And again, because of COVID and the lack of social interactions that I saw in my own experience with my family, especially for young kids, I saw that there was that need to inspire them through words, right? And then also when they are healthy, their interactions with other kids will be healthy. And therefore that would impact our world eventually.
Iana says once children are mentally fit, they will inspire others to produce a ripple effect that will strengthen social interactions and inspire other kids to do well. Her book was officially published on August 1st, 2022. It's now available online on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles and at Trinidad and Tobago booksellers.
I am going to do a book tour in the United States, where we're originally based. And of course, because of my connections to Trinidad and Tobago, specifically Tobago, I absolutely want to do a book tour in Tobago as well. And of course, introduce it. I want to also donate a few copies to our Scarborough Library.
Iana says she credits her illustrator Jeannie Joni for the beautiful design of her book cover. The author says she didn't realize how demanding the publishing world is. She says the experience showed her that there's a lot more to becoming an author than just putting pen to paper.
I was writing mantras for my son. His name is Channing. And I was like, you know what? I can actually codify this and put it in book form so he can have it and he can read it on his own when he's older, right? But then I was like, okay, let me look into getting it published, right? And then it went down this whole rabbit hole of, oh, you need ISBN numbers and you need to try to get it onto Amazon and try to get it onto Barnes & Noble, or you can actually go through Random House or one of those large publishers, but then they can reject a manuscript and the length of time for them to read and edit a manuscript. So it was a whole process that I had no awareness about.
Iana is urging aspiring authors to make Google their best friend. She says proper research will provide all the information you need to become self-published. She says it took her 10 years to get this first book published. Iana believes you can do it too. Her advice is just start writing, get a manuscript, and from there, the sky's the limit. That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candice Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. The Tobago Festivals Commission has requested that artists contracted by the THA for the Tobago Carnival be patient while their payment is processed. This announcement follows public cries from artists such as Marvin Lewis, who claimed the THA was unable to pay performers. He pointed out that other international acts have already received their full payment, while Tobagonians were not treated with the same expediency. The Festivals Commission, on the other hand, explained that they committed to honoring all agreements and never intended to disrespect Tobago's artists. However, it involves a process that requires a little more time. Meanwhile, former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner lost his appeal at the Privy Council on judicial review to stop extradition proceedings. Warner is one of several FIFA officials wanted in the U.S. for 29 offenses related to fraud, corruption, and money laundering over the past 30 years. However, Warner intends to keep fighting. In a press release immediately after the ruling, Warner denied any wrongdoing. He described the allegations as a jealous retaliation from the U.S. for losing the bid to host the World Cup to Russia and Qatar in 2018 and 2022 respectively. Following the Privy Council's dismissal, the case can now proceed in Port of Spain's Magistrates Court. And now Grenada's Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell stated that travel within CARICOM must be improved and the excuses which allow the problems to persist must be rejected. Mitchell was speaking at the recently held TT Manufacturers Association, where he criticized the lack of cooperation from airlines and entities to provide sufficient inter-island travel. He added, quote, "We don't ask whether roads are profitable. I don't think we ask ourselves, are we making money from asphalt in the roads? So it's difficult for me to understand why we ask, are we making money from the airlines, if we recognize the importance of trade," end quote. Meanwhile, he is looking forward to his country strengthening ties with Trinidad and Tobago. And that was your news in 90 seconds. And well, viewers, we are continuing our, evaluation of the past year since the PDP took hold of the THA. They won the election with a historic 14-1 victory. And, so we are continuing to go through with all the assemblymen, all the secretaries, all the councillors. So on the lineup this morning is none other than the assemblyman for Buku Mount Pleasant and the assistant secretary in Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And that is Mr. Sonny Craig, or better known as Sunny Days Ahead.
That's right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, world, and all Mr. Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to everyone.
All right, and as we're talking with Mr. Sonny Craig, and we're talking Sunny Days Ahead, we have the rains coming down on us.
Okay.
I don't know if that's an omen.
The reality stands true. Every day is a sunny day. Just that the clouds come between us and the sun every now and then, but every day is a sunny day. So.
And I'm going to start on that point. So you said that in leading into your campaign, sunny days ahead. Was it really sunny days over the past year? How will you evaluate that in terms of what you wanted to do as an elected representative and as a member of the THA?
Well, sunny days are ahead. And as I said, every day is a sunny day. But you don't get the same amount of sun every day. At least you don't see it. The last year has been a learning experience for me, as I've never had before. I have had the opportunity to do so many things that I only dreamed about. Now, I could confess that coming into this chair, I didn't envisage some of the experiences I had, some of the connections I would make, even some of the events I'll have to attend, as simple as Memorial Day. Those things were not on the timetable. I came in with the really rooted and really focused on making Buku Mount Pleasant into a better environment, a better place. It's a place that historically was rooted in the hands of the PNM, and I had the blessed privilege of being the one to make a change in that area. We came into a situation where funding was a big challenge in our development plan, where we had a situation where there was mass spending, I would say reckless spending before the elections, and we couldn't really execute where we wanted to in its fullest sense. I think one of my early achievements through all that was to pull off Taste of Buku.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's one of those hot topics that I have for us to dive into.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
And preceding that, of course, we were able to resurface the entire main road in Booker Point, which was a rugged mess for a long time. We were able to do that as a precursor to Taste of Buku. And we had a lot of conversations with interest groups and so on the way forward. I will confess that we have not been able to execute as we would like to, seeing that our budgetary allocations are only recently being distributed based on the budget statement that was read in September, October. We're now in November. So we still have a lot to accomplish in the district, and that's just Buku, but then there is Mount Pleasant and there is Canaan. We still have a lot to accomplish.
All right.
All right?
Now, you mentioned that, you know, the Buku Mount Pleasant electoral district, that was a PNM stronghold. What has your relationship been like with the people, especially coming into office in a situation where they were accustomed to one style of leadership, but now it's different?
Yeah. But the change in leadership style is it's universal. I think it's on the whole island, where people are insisting that we must stay on the ground. And they want to see their representatives ever so often. The guy I replaced, when I was campaigning, I was told on many occasions that they don't see their representative. And it seems to be, and I'm learning as we go along, and I've accepted that it's part of the Tobago culture, political culture now, that the representatives must be in the communities. That is not an easy accomplishment, because
Why is it not easy?
you have the responsibility. Let me strike the parallel with a family. And I'm not calling my constituents my children, but just for the conversation. You have a loving father and you want to see him all the time. What happens to that family eventually? He doesn't get to go to work. He doesn't get to go and do his chores. He doesn't get to do this. But in all fairness, you must see your leader. But to really accomplish the growth we want in our communities, being on the ground, in my opinion, meaning having an impact on the ground, which doesn't necessarily always mean you have to be walking the streets. I've walked a lot since the elections, and every day I hear people saying, Mr. Craig Wayne Sr. And sometimes I think it's just coincidental that I might walk your street on a day when you're not home, right? But I'm going to continue my walks, continue to interact with the community. And I met the communities really depressed. And depressed to the point where the patrons and persons I interact with want change now. The changes that they are asking for were incrementally, the challenges were incrementally imposed on them over time. Because the previous regime, in my opinion, they did whatever was necessary to keep people voting for them. Responsible politics demands that you do things to improve the lives of people. That is a gamble, because sometimes what it takes to improve someone's life might not add up to favor at the polls. In any situation, even if you are sick, sometimes the best medicine is the worst tasting medicine. And those before us, to me, they sought to give you sweets when you're supposed to be drinking some bitter bush.
But, you know, like I said, we had a lot of persons that were in the community that were affiliated to the PNM. How did you reach out to them? Or have you been able to reach out to them in a way to get them on board with you as the area representative, so that, I mean, there is some sort of harmony or some sort of cooperation in going ahead with your leadership?
Well, I don't know who are PNM and who is not PNM right now. Everybody is a part of my district. You are a citizen on the island of Tobago, and I'm coming at you to help you to become a success. There are people who I know traditionally were families that assign themselves and say, I'm a PNM, which is something I'll never understand, because I'm a Tobagonian first. And that, to me, transcends any political party. So some people are stubborn in their politics, because a quick example, somebody born in 1998 would be 24 years old now, and their only understanding of local politics is PNM, because that, except for the little window that Kamla Prasad Bisesa enjoyed from 2010 to 2015. All they know is PNM. I'm blessed with hindsight, where I was around and conscious from 1976 when Robinson and Murray came to the fore, and I was able to see the progression of the politics in Tobago. I could say from 76 on to 86 when Robinson took the 33-3 and we became, it was NAR in power, right down to 1996 with Ho Choi Charles, on to 2001 with Orville London. And I could have seen the progression, and those who have experienced the last 21 years of politics and use that as a basis or as a standard, it is really, really far, far from what the Tobagonian is about and what our dreams and aspirations were coming through those years. So it's not an easy job, but my philosophy and my way of dealing with it is to continually be neutral in the face of political bias, because I have to be. People must understand that, and over the next 2 years, Tobago is going to go through something really special. And when they look at the progress of the island, and they seek to align it to somebody, it must not be somebody adversarial. It must not be somebody who is always arguing politics about with me, but it must be somebody who is, when they come down my street, they are encouraging, they are focused, they are trying to help me become the best that I could be. And that's how I choose to approach it, because I know as our plans are rolled out, people will get the picture and they'll understand and come on board.
Now, I've been asking these questions because we've heard complaints over the past year that the Buku Village Council were not exactly pleased with your interventions, especially where the goat race were concerned. There were some complaints about the recently held village council elections, and there are accusations that the party, the PDP party, is trying to influence the leadership of the Buku Village Council, which is an important community to Tobago, because of course that is the home of goat race, and of course Mount Pleasant to a lesser extent. But how are you treating with these people who are very influential in the community, very much rooted in the community, and making sure that they don't feel that there's an adversarial approach to things?
You know, before I got here this morning, I was, at least yesterday evening, my staff and I were reviewing the data, and I was able to see how far back the conversations began this year. I think it's as soon as I got into office. I got in here in December 9th, we began work, and it was early January we began the conversation with the village council, and that discussion didn't bear fruit eventually. Well, the THA came on board and took the event and ensure that an event came off.
And this is, of course, the Taste of Buku.
Taste of Buku. Because Buku Goat and Crab Race Festival is a copyrighted statement. And that is copyrighted by the village council. So we couldn't use that slogan. So what has happened over time is that I have made it clear to the village council that it's not the intention of the TAG to take away the Goat Race Festival from the village council. It's just that, and I've said it on many media houses, in order to keep the art form alive, we had to pull it off to keep it alive. After a 2-year break, guys were selling out the animals, they were getting disenfranchised, and it was a main earner for the guys who own the animals. And up to this point, I think that was well understood by the village council. In fact, recently, I told them that we need to move quickly to ensure that you guys could really pull it off again in 2023. We're going to try again, make sure, get you back on board. There are pockets, of discomfort in the village, based on the fact that even recently, as this week actually, there was a by-election. I call it a by-election, but it's really a committee that was put in place to start the process of planning the event, instead of waiting for the real elections, which are supposed to be held anywhere between January and March. Most likely the event will come off in April.
Now, I mean, with that decision being taken, now some of those people on the village council, and even within the village itself, are saying that that is the PDP trying to influence and politicize the matter. What would you say to that allegation?
No, I spoke to the outgoing chairman, president of the village council, and she shared these concerns with me. She told me what they had in mind. And I'm listening, and I'm saying, fine, okay, good. And these persons are the persons who were there running the village council before I came on board.
Yes.
So to this point, I have not sought to take any controlling interest over the village council, right? I am trying my best because it's a political climate. I'm trying my best to work with all the stakeholders to ensure that we have some kind of equity, some kind of parity, so make sure it's done in a way. But some of the youths of the village came to me, and they are concerned that there's a group, a particular group, that continues to be recycled in the village council. And they would like my intervention to ensure that when the village council is doing anything, it is well advertised, so everyone gets a chance to voice their concerns going forward. So I got the numbers actually just yesterday from the community development to call some relevant parties to ensure that the elections happen early in 2023 and to ensure that the advertisements go out on time so that everyone in Buku hears about it. They could come, be a part of the village council, be a part of the election process, and ensure that the persons elected to lead are those that the majority of the village approve of, right? This recent election that was held this week was done in a way that that had a semblance to what they were trying to avoid. And it was just a stopgap to deal with something as an emergency. But that was not necessarily understood because the perception is different.
Certainly.
Yeah, so that's something I have to continue to work on today. But if you listen to the context of my conversation, you realize that there is no PDP interference here. There is an assemblyman listening to the community and seeking to have things done equitably and ensure everybody is happy.
And what lesson did that teach you, that whole experience dealing with the Buku Village Council? Because we know for the past year it has not been easy.
Right.
We saw the disagreements over the taste of Buku, and then recently with this little election.
Well,
what has that taught you?
Well, I cannot say there were disagreements over taste of Buku. At least it wasn't public, right? Taste of Buku, as I said, I was continually talking with the village council. It came down to like maybe a month before the event when they said they couldn't continue. But there was no point in the process where I sought to take the event from them. I sought to have it executed when they said they couldn't do it because of time constraints. And I have been talking to Ms. Rochford, I've been talking to Mr. Pereira, and we have never had a disagreement on the way forward for the village council. So I am not going to subscribe to the view that I did anything untoward or sought to disturb the flow in the village and the village council and so on. My objective is to bring it to the point where the majority, the democratic process plays out, and people come out and make their voices heard in determining the way forward.
Okay, so one of your things that you promised on the campaign trail, and we're going to continue just a little bit more on Buku itself, but we need to also touch on Mount Pleasant. But you promised to just bring a bit more, structure and hope to Buku, because, I mean, as we know, Buku is just such an important community when it comes to tourism.
Right.
Of course, we have the goat and the crab races, we have the reef. There is so much history and that in the village. How far are you along in producing those plans that you presented to the people? And were you able to achieve them? The things that you have been able to achieve, were you able to achieve that in that time that you had hoped to achieve it?
No, I have not been able to achieve it in the time I would have hoped. As I said earlier, we had budgetary constraints coming in, and we had to focus our funding as an administration on certain critical areas. So I'll say straight up, no, I've not been able to accomplish what I really wanted to do. The plans are still there. We see Buku Beach becoming the beach of choice for families, especially because there's the blessing of being able to drive and park under the trees and spread out your mat and so on. People of our hue do not necessarily need the suntan, but we don't mind lying down under the trees and so on. So that is one of the areas I want to seek to develop. And recently, The rains dealt us a blow. When you thought it was landslides in the country alone, there was a movement of water from the swamplands that just eroded the driveway to get below the trees. And it's still to be repaired. The challenge we're getting here is that most of the equipment at our disposal are focused in the country dealing with the landslides. And that's something I know I'll get dealt with before the end of this year, because we're almost at the end, or we passed the half of November. I'm not going to commit myself to saying this next week or so. But I'm confident that we'll get that roadway repaired so the cars could continue driving. We will need to have conversations with the village on a lot of the ideas we have. I do not want to be the leader to come by and impose ideas on the community. I think that my focus on getting the village council right is one of the tools I intend to use in the development trust, so that when we do stuff in Buku, it is what the Buku people want, and they are a part and a meaningful part of it. In developing a tourism product as Buku, you would realize that there's a lot of potential to monetize a lot of areas. It would not be financially prudent, it would not be politically prudent for me to just do it without Buku persons having the first voice and the first opportunity to cash into these ideas. So some of the areas of concern could be implemented without a long-term discussion. You know what I mean? There's a request for washrooms in certain areas, but it's not just as easy as putting washrooms. There must be the conversation with the environmental concern, because with washrooms you're talking runoff, right? And you on Buku Beach, with Buku Reef right there, you could see it. So there are washrooms already at the existing facility, but to traverse from the beach 100 meters down to the washroom, depending on the urgency of your move, could be risky. So there is a lot of balancing to happen, a lot of conversations to happen. The facility at Buku, we're looking at holding more events, more goat race events during the year. Those conversations have begun. I met with the Goat Owners Association about a month ago, and I'm following up the conversations with our Chief Secretary to ensure that we get it to come to a point where it's self-sustaining and not necessarily an event where the THA has to sponsor. I know even when the THA sponsors, there's a lot of benefit for the average vendors, the business persons in the community. So when the THA sponsors, it's a win-win, right? However, I spent some years in business, and every dollar I spend, I like to send it out like a fish line. And if it comes back with fish, I make a profit. If it comes up by itself, I regain my investment. So
now, as you touched on fish, I have to get in there.
Please stick it. Go on, let's go.
Right. Now, I've noticed a lot, because, sometimes, I like to sit at Blue Ivy Restaurant. Good morning to Mr. Sheldon Cunningham. And just view things. It's a beautiful spot, and you're just looking out at the jetty. Now, there is the sign there on the jetty, the beautiful I Love Buku sign.
Right.
But it's also in the way of the fishermen. And then you see many times, you see visitors coming. They want to take those pictures there, but their fishermen are there handling their business and so on. What conversations have you had with the fishermen, or how far are you along in, providing that space for them and sort of balancing that with the tourism aspect of things?
Right. The discussion began, but it's not far along as I would like it to be. There is a reserved space for that already, which is...
So we are going to move the sign, or are you going to move the fishermen?
Well, the sign was put there by my predecessor, and I don't think it was a good idea. It was not a good idea. It might be pretty, it might be a photo op, but when you look at the purpose for the jetty, it compromises the purpose for the jetty in a big way. This is one of the areas where the villagers are split on. Some people say move it, some people say leave it. We will have the conversation. I would like it to be moved, but it's a major responsibility to move it. One of the answers we have come up with is that we need to extend the jetty, period. Because the volume of business that could be done at Buku, as sea business I'm talking about, the jetty, even without the sign, is too small. So there's a plan being done right now to extend the jetty and to, if possible, do a floating jetty where berthing of boats will not be interfered by the rise and fall of the tide. So this is something we have some engineers looking into at the moment. With an additional 50 meters or so of jetty in Buku, that sign might be able to stay there, and we could be able to still have our berthing and fishing operations, offloading of boats and so on. There is also the cleaning of fish and so on in the jetty is a no-no. It's a no-no. It will have to change, right? But the place that was reserved for that, and I'm in my 50s, the place reserved for that was there when I was a teenager. So it's really insufficient, and it needs to be rebuilt, right? And this is one of the plans we have for the area, to put a proper state-of-the-art space for the fishermen to be able to process their fish when they come in from the ocean.
And what about boat rebuilding or boat construction? Because there's a lot of that happens in Buku,
yes,
but there's no space for it. So you have a lot of boats that are just there on the shore. I know some years ago, they actually, I think the Department of Health went in and removed a lot of the vessels, the derelict vessels that were there, much to the displeasure of some of those fishermen.
Right.
But I mean, there is no space for them, and then there is those policies, those laws within our land that says that you can't repair your boats right on the shore. So are we going to also be providing that space for them?
We have two areas we're looking at to relocate the boat building facility. Actually, three spaces. One consideration is to move it to Cove, the industrial estate at Cove. That would allow for massive warehousing and crane operations to move around boats under construction. There is a space also in what we call the lagoon, in not no man's land, but more in the mangrove areas. So we are looking at those areas, and also there's a space in the village itself where a facility was built by the Japanese years ago, and it's controlled by fisheries now, the division of from agriculture, and we are negotiating to see if we could tap into some of that space to build a facility. On the campaign trail, I insisted that this facility must be also a training facility where young people, because the guy who is doing it now, he's the best on the island, I've been told. And he is weary, he's tired, and he's thinking about doing a change of profession. So I'm begging him at the moment to hold on a bit, because I really want him to do some training programs or to even lead the process in the new facility when it comes on board. Yeah.
All right, and on that point, we just take a quick break, viewers, but when we come back, we are continuing our discussions with the Assemblyman for Buku Mount Pleasant and the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Mr. Sonny Craig. Stay with us.
Excuse me, Mr. Man. Playground rhymes. That's why I'm bringing back the playground rhymes.
International Men's Day. That should bring a glimmer of hope and a really nice feeling in the minds and in the hearts of people all around the world. And it's my hope and prayer that we could do what we are called to do. My name is Sonny Craig, Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Today is a very momentous day for us on the planet. Today is a day we recognize men. And just by saying it, does that make it momentous? Our divine mandate makes us the main line of defense for our societies. And so many of us leave ourselves undone. We are so busy trying to make that dollar, trying to take care of the family, that gradually our bodies could be eroding right before our very eyes, and we're not taking that time off to take care of ourselves. I want to encourage you, whether it's prostate health, whether it's your blood pressure. In the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, we have programs designed to assist you in meeting the needs of your being and your person. Just as that car you have in the garage, just as that motorcycle you have outside, your body, your being needs care. I want to encourage you. We are blessed with a facility at Fort King George we call the Blue Room. And at the Blue Room, we could deal with so many issues in a confidential and a professional manner. So, hey, why not? Why not make use of it? Just exercising, just embracing the correct diet. Because those of us who are doing the job, we need to preserve these bodies of ours for the long haul. Let me encourage you. International Day for Men, I think we deserve it. And not just deserve it, but we deserve to enjoy it and to extend it as long as we can. To all the men out there, blessings, honor, power from the Assistant Secretary in the Division, Sonny Craig. Have a great day.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Now we are continuing our discussions with Mr. Sonny Craig as he gives us his perspective on 1 year later after the PDP took hold of the THA. Now, of course, Mr. Sonny Craig is the assignment man for Buku Mount Pleasant and the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Now, just before we went to the break, we went into Buku quite a bit. And before I move on with the conversation, I just want to touch on Mount Pleasant and, you know, just to speak to, you know, what's happening in that community as well. We know that there are lots of complaints about the roads and things like that. I mean, and these were some of the things that you promised to fix on your campaign trail, but they're not fixed yet.
Well, you could say they aren't fixed as yet. Correct. There's more to be done, right? We began some work, but there's more to be done. There were some stubborn craters, which I would call maybe some pools, basins, which have been dealt with. The biggest challenge in Mount Pleasant is unemployment, I would say. And the unemployment challenge, I think it runs right through the island of Tobago. I think sometimes people do not understand the gravity of the service that has been done to this island by the development style that was used over the last 20 years. There is no other comment that could be made, right, to help us to understand what's happening. Persons come to me on a daily basis seeking assistance to get employment. And persons' understanding of the THA and our responsibility is really skewed. Because in the process of trying to develop a vote bank, the PNM did an injustice to our people in advising that their best interests would be served if they continually focus on working for the government. I will gladly, and I'm trying, even when I leave here, I'm going to continue trying to assist persons who are unemployed and would need that assistance. However, I ask them from time to time, I say, in the major countries around the world, the ones that really make the news, in the Swedens and the Japans and so on, when you think about Japan, you think about Singapore, what is it that really stands out as their greatest development achievement? It's not the political or the governmental achievements. When you hear about Japan, you hear about Suzuki, you hear about Mitsubishi, you hear about Kawasaki, and it's in the private sector and in the production and export of goods and services. That's where the greatest accomplishments are. When you hear about China, everything is made in China. I want to take up your microphone box and check to see if that was made in China too. And you see manufacturing, you see the whole idea of building your country is not necessarily in the process of working for the state, but it's more in you tapping into your innate ability. And this is where my greatest lesson is, where I try to teach my people. You know, so unemployment is a serious challenge in the area. And of course, unemployment springs in some cases from how well qualified we are to embrace jobs that come on the market.
Now, the PDP came in with a mandate to fix a lot of those problems and fix on a community level so that each community could be in some sort of way self-sustaining.
Correct.
But we see that in the community of Mount Pleasant, there are challenges with, you know, the village council and even the recreational ground. What is happening there? Is it that you're putting too much focus on Buku and not enough on Mount Pleasant?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. The ground has been closed for repair. The ground is one that retains a lot of water and is not the best for sports and so on, because even our year-end function, which I called Bago Wonderland or Christmas Street, was to be held at Mount Pleasant. And for that same perception, to manage that perception, but guess what? We had to end up going back to Buku, because part of our program demands that we entertain what the children in Tobago like, and we have a kite flying competition. If we move the event to Canaan, you can't fly kites in Canaan, proximity to the airport. We could fly in Mount Pleasant. The ground is not good. So we're going back to Buku with our year-end function, Bago Wonderland. And could I push a plug here for my Bago Wonderland, please? Yes, of course. It promises to be something really fantastic. We're encouraging folk to come out to the district office and register. The district office is located directly opposite Moorshed Supermarket. So you could go by and register your children. If you are from Buku, Mount Pleasant, Canaan, go by, work with a utility bill, because the interest is so intense that I'm not confident that we're getting our children involved. So we want you to work with your utility bill to ensure that you actually come from my district, so that your children could be afforded their Christmas treat and so on, right?
But what
so
about
back to the question. Yes. Right, so in walking the area, that's the main concern I have. Unemployment, we have persons in the community. I'm partnering with a guy who is a qualified tradesman, and from December he's going to lead the charge in a training course in masonry and carpentry. I'm not saying these are not available in the trade schools and so on, but sometimes it might be more effective if the young people could just go to the community center right next door and do 2-hour programs during the week and acquire the knowledge for trade. So the training is necessary for in all disciplines, right? So you find a lot of people in a way to not deal with the training component. They would prefer to just get a little, the morning work, a little 2 hours work. It doesn't demand them really focusing on disciplining themselves to go to school and so on. So I'm trying to change that paradigm and let people understand. Like I ask them, I say, listen, when you get a nice morning work, which is good, and I have no problem with that, but you can't go Miami next year for the summer. You cannot. If you're interested in putting a swimming pool, you have a challenge. I mean, you'll be able to get your groceries and a little phone card and thing, but I believe every human being is blessed with so much ability. There is no difference in your mental capacity and the guy who's sitting on the roadside this morning wondering what to do next. And if that could be that could be lit in his mind where he sees his potential. I see young men, I'm 6 feet tall, I stand up with young men who are above me, towering over me, and they look as the next fast bowler for West Indies. They look as the next 800-meter runner for the next Olympics. But there is a limitation in how they visualize their future. And I think sometimes not everyone has that. They grow up in an environment where they could be motivated and driven to be the best that they could be. That's the greatest challenge I'm seeing with the youth in Tobago especially.
All right, and now I just want to go back to that question about the village council for Mount Pleasant. What is happening there?
Well, I have a meeting with them on Monday. I was to meet them yesterday, but I have this challenge where I'm meeting them at 9 and 11 in the night during the week. So they asked me, we made an arrangement to meet next Monday evening at 6:30. So I'll come back and talk to you about it. But I'll tell you straight up that I am open to conversations with the councils. and to listen to their concerns, and we take it from there.
All right, well, we're looking forward to that. Now, I'm going to move on to your role as the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Now, for the viewers that are watching and may not be aware, now, in that division, what were the responsibilities assigned to you as Assistant Secretary?
Well, I have direct responsibility for public health. And public health encompasses one of the main areas, in my opinion, is the landfill, management of the landfill, which means management of everything you put in that garbage bag, right? And but public health extends beyond that. It deals with the persons who sanitize our ports of entry. You know, you see people go on the boat and on the plane and they spray out and so on to ensure that no infectious diseases are brought in. It deals with the guys who ensure that all the task force, they deal with the different offices managed by the Division of Health and coordinating them and ensuring that they get the tools they need to do the job. I could go on pulling a blank, but that's all right. So but it's a wide field. It is, yes.
Now, so you say you are responsible for public health, but yeah, we still see around the island that, you know, when sanitation is concerned, there are still some issues. You know, some of our public spaces are not quite as clean as, you know, the traditional, how it used to be traditionally, because Tobago has this culture of being clean, or I should say had, because that is unfortunately changing. How are you staying on top of that to make sure that our sites, the public spaces do continue to exhibit that level of cleanliness that we are known for?
All right, and that's a good question, because what has been happening is, like in the Division of Works, where we have the SMART program, Show Me a Road Tobago, we have some tardiness from time to time with our garbage collection systems, and it's something we are reviewing at the moment. But what happens at the moment is that people continually contact me and says, listen, I'm noticing a sore point and a sore point there. And the truth be told, there have been sore points for a long time.
Yes.
There have been sore points. There are areas where the average person know that my mother used to drop the garbage here, I drop in it here. At one point in time, during the time of, I think it's the time of Mr. London, Orville London, they put up some garbage cages at certain points. The cages have been demolished over years, and people without a cage, they still drop the garbage on the ground there. So there are some junctions when I drive around, I stop, I take pictures of the site, I forward them to the relevant persons in the public health, and they send trucks to clean up these areas. That cannot be a long-standing approach.
So how are you fixing it?
So we're looking at reviewing the garbage collection systems right now. One of the areas we are looking at is to get heavily into recycling in Tobago. Because spinning off of that challenge, because even if you pick up all that, at the moment, the landfill in Tobago is almost full, right? And because the landfill is almost full, it means that we'll have to move on to another space. Tobago is a small island. I'm an avid hiker. I've hiked across the island from Land Summit to Delaford across the main ridge. From that perspective, it looks big. But when you look at the space that's easily usable, it's a small space. And we think that the precedence has been set. There are many countries that practice the recycling, and it's something we want to get into heavily in 2023. What would that do for us? That would allow us to get into a more sentimental approach to manage. Now, garbage is something like from the time you take that wrapper off that item, the wrapper is no longer needed. From the time you finish drinking that bottled water, the bottle is no longer needed. And some people throw it anywhere.
Yes.
There's an educational drive coming where we could have people understand that that plastic bottle could be put into recycling and come back as another plastic bottle, or come back as something else that could be used, which means that the actual data shows that 80% of what we throw away at the moment could be reused. So with a recycling drive, right, we are hoping to curb the average person's approach to managing their garbage. Because even if you see garbage in the wrong places as you go around the island, that looks unsightly. It shows some kind of mismanagement on somebody's part, but it also shows a sense of irresponsibility by the person who threw it there. if that person knew that you have an option, instead of just dropping it on the side of the road or just dropping a bag of garbage on the corner where you see another 100 bags piled up already, if we could, and the re-education drive is beginning, actually, the Line Secretary has the document that we have just produced on our recycling program, which we're going to hear more about. Secretary James has already spoken, and we have a plan in train that we're going to begin next week to seek to clean up our roadways, because a lot of our roadways are a bit unsightly. The brush is overgrown, it's coming into the actual
and then a lot of times you see that when our workers go and cut the bushes, they leave it on the side of the road, causing traffic.
Good.
That continues to happen. How are we dealing with that?
Yes, that is being dealt with. That is being dealt with.
How are we dealing with that though? Like, what are the measures that are being put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen?
We will have additional crews brought on board, especially to deal with that. And from, as I said, from next week, we are going to see a new plan being rolled out to deal with that, to clean the areas and to cart away the heaps of grass, because those heaps of grass actually rob you of 2 to 3 feet of road.
Yes, it does, and creates traffic.
And sometimes you have to run over it in an emergency, and you're only hoping that there's nothing in there to puncture you. So I know it, and it's unsightly also. It's unsightly also, so that is being dealt with. We have a challenge in HR where we have to replace, we have to rebuild certain crews on the road that have been demised by persons resigning, people and so on, and we have not been able to replace them. But of course, replacing staff is a process. It's not just that somebody gone home, retired, and we could just bring out the next person. The process sometimes has to have the union involved and so on. And I'll confess, since I came to this job, I realized that the systems in place for really moving things are really archaic, and they are slow. They are primitive, because this is a political position. This is a position where we are judged continually on performance all the time. And when you can't perform, because look, recently there are situations that happen in this space where persons are not being paid on time. Every little challenge we face, I work with the assemblymen. Everybody's passionate about their field of management and where they are put. And it brings a serious challenge when we are not able to deliver what we are supposed to deliver. And in a lot of cases too, because the buck stops with us, we end up taking blame where we do not deserve to be blamed. Because you will have a situation where key persons didn't come out to work, and so as a result, the orders were not given to move, to pick this up, to pick up that garbage, and it stays there until the next day. It all comes down to education. We're talking tourism. I must understand. Listen, Candice, I'm driving and I just had a mint, and I'm holding the paper in my hand, I'm rolling it, and I'm conscious. Where do I throw this? It's easy to just do that through the car window. And I'm conscious of that, because everything doesn't begin big, everything starts small. So I would end up dropping it on my mat. And when I'm cleaning my car, or I have a garbage bag hooked onto my gear shift, the automatic gear shift. So when I'm cleaning out the vehicle, I'll put all those in a garbage bag and manage that from there. So there's a lot to be done at the individual level to deal with the challenges we have.
All right, certainly. Now we're going to continue our conversation, but viewers, we just have to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some more stuff with Mr. Sonny Craig, Assemblyman for Bugumon Pleasant and Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection.
Was a while before Christmas, and all through the land, people was putting away house with very little money in hand. They was painting and cleaning and doing their chores, but I went to hunt for deals at American stores. Deals on living and dining room sets, on fridges and stoves, beds and cabinets, on washers and dryers, small appliances cheap, even TVs and stereos, prices just can't be beat. So let's Christmas together at American stores. After all, what they tell me, anything could be yours.
Anything can be yours at American stores.
Spartans! What is your profession?
I Walk with Pastor is looking for 300 mighty men of valor. We stand in support of our men from all facets of society. On a Sunday, 20th November from 5:30 a.m., we walk for 6 kilometers. That is from the Shore Park Hard Court to Orkinscure and back. Flex those muscles in the Macho Man competition and cool down with aerobics. Lots of prizes in store, so sign up at the Esplanade on Monday 14th and Thursday 17th of November from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. 2-for-1 t-shirt special for all males signing up. Registration costs only $20. Whether you walk, ride or run, let's support these mighty men of valor. Sunday 20th November 2022. Let's do this.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. And yes, viewers, we are continuing our conversation with Mr. Sonny Craig, the Assemblyman from Wukuma Pleasant and the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Now, before we move on, we can't forget another part of your district, and that is Canaan, because that with the new configurations, that falls within your ambit. So, could you tell me what's been happening in those areas in terms of, meeting the needs of the residents there?
Well, Canaan is one of the special villages for one of the reasons being Canaan is led by 3 assemblymen. Right? A part is led by Joel Sampson, a part is led by Wayne Clark, but the larger portion belongs to me. Canaan's challenges are unemployment, of course, and infrastructure. Right? Early in our tour of duty, Secretary James asked us to identify areas of concern and areas where we think we would need the greatest input in bringing it up to standard for the citizens, right? And we did that. This is another development point where funding was the hold-up for a while, and now we are about to launch out on dealing with that. There are some repairs being done in certain areas. We need box drains and so on. Another big problem with Canaan is because of the flat topography of the village. Okay, let me give you a quick example. There's a guy who lives on a street in one of the areas, and in an effort to win the election, the previous representative rushed in and paved the road down the middle. And the villagers were saying, no, do not pave the road like that without putting in drainage. But coincidentally, the guy who was going up against lived in the area, and he says, I'm going to cover him with the pitch. And they pitched off the place. You know what's happening now? No box drains, no drainage, no slipper drains. These rains that are falling now, the water is running off the pitch straight into people's homes.
Wow.
Straight into people's homes. And a lot of the shoddy work that was done by those before is there to be corrected now. I think this administration, after the administration of 1976 or 1980, in the early years of the THA, this group of assemblymen have the hardest job of any assembly in the history of Tobago. Apart from coming from years of rush work and, because people will tell you everywhere you go in my district, they never see their representative. Only when the election time comes around, they see him. And when he comes in, when they come in to get your vote, they rush the development. Canaan is a place you can't rush development. There are areas where you have a box drain coming down. I have a partner with a shop, and the drain comes down behind the shop. Nice concrete drain. But when it gets to the point to cross the road, the crossing is smaller than the box drain that came to that point. So as the water comes down at a certain pace, it piles up there, backs up, floods his yard, floods the neighbor yard, and all these jobs were jobs that were done hurriedly to garner votes. We have to repair that now.
And what is it going to take to fix it?
Well, I have the engineering crew from the Division of Works coming in, and Mr. Leong from URP. We are working together. There are areas, and I early not bringing some pictures to show you some of the challenges I have. There are areas in Chauvin, and which I would link to Canaan, because coming off the highway, coming straight down, you could say Chauvin, Canaan, is because we wouldn't get to discuss Chauvin at the rate we're going. They build some strange design of pavements where the holes, where there are holes, the clean out holes on the pavement are mounted on an elevated platform. So you're walking on the pavement, and every time you meet the point where you open to clean the drain, it's a step up, and then you step down. So the pavement is not a flat pavement. And I'm trying to understand where that kind of engineering came from. You know, I don't know if it's a way to increase the amount of material you're ordering for the job so that it could go a particular way. But there's so much shoddy work to be corrected. So you find now, I've been to areas in Canaan. If you could brainstorm with me, you know, when you're going down to Canaan and you meet Azar Tire Shop on the right at Friendship Junction, between that junction and Golden Grove, if you look across to the right, there's a large expanse of field there. A large expanse. There's a lot of water settling there, which will encourage mosquitoes. And you need to have surveyors come in. You need to identify your levels and tag that to the best runoff point, whether it is no man's land, which is the lagoon to the north, or you're going to go down to Killigrew Bay to the south. The problems have been noted. We know what the challenges are. The experts are coming in because we walk the areas. Along that same road on the main road between Azad and Golden Grove, on the right side, is another area where you see them digging out piles of mud every morning, every day, and have them piled on the edge of the road. Why? The water is not flowing. Canaan is flat. So the infrastructure challenge in Canaan is massive. And you go all around, and because the wetlands are so close, which constitute, as I said, no man's land area, you have to be prudent in how you approach dealing with this. The politics and our education of the politics is trying to force us to give you a quick fix. And if we give you a quick fix, we might get your vote, but you put yourself deeper into the challenge.
So are you trying to say that, you know, the PDP is trying to fix things, but not a quick fix?
Not quick fix. We can't fix anything with a quick fix. This is Tobago. If you want to develop the greatest little island on the planet, it can't be quick fix. We have the technical capability. I am impressed with what I'm seeing on the team that Trevor James leads in the Division of Works. And I believe and I trust their opinion when they say, hold Mr. Craig, because I'm under the pressure. The pressure is on. People want results now. And strange enough, people want results on issues that have been around for the longest while. And I understand them. I'll tell you why I understand them. If you have been going through a process for 20, 21 years, and you vote for a change, you want that change to be activated immediately. And that is an easy way to think it out. But I'm urging my people in Bukum and Pazan Canaan to hold for a great delivery. Hold for a great delivery, because we are working on the challenges and they will be sorted out. Canaan has a lot of young people, and historically Canaan produced, it might be, I didn't do the research, but I think Canaan Bonaccord as a community has produced most of our national heroes, well, at least in the 60s, 70s coming up. I think Rennie Kwawa and this generation might be more widely spread. But when you talk about Clint York, you talk about Williams, Ken Williams, you talk about Dwight York, you talk about one of the greatest sprinters Tobago ever saw. Her name is just slipping me as we're here. But she came from Bonaccord.
QQ Melville.
Well, Melville is great also, but her name, I'm embarrassed that I don't remember her name right now. But Canaan, and I don't know if it's because it was a flat area, historically has really produced some great sports. But in recent years, the pace of development has slowed, and that's an area where we need to really invest some time and some effort, yeah?
All right. Now I want to move on to a little bit more personal. Yes, how has the past year changed your perspective on leadership? Because I'm pretty sure you would have had one idea getting into office, but how has that changed?
I don't think it has changed much, because I came in here with a certain personality. I have my vibe, I have my way, and persons who interact with me advise me, don't change. I like how you're going, But of course, there will be some change. Basil Pandey once said, politics has a morality of its own. And I understand him now. Because, and I was my wife this morning, I said, I was telling Mr. Wood this morning, if you are not comfortable with who you are, or you fake your way through life, politics is not for you. Because now you will have to answer more questions and deal with more situations than you've ever dealt with in your life. You will miss out going home 9 and 11 o'clock in the night. Every day is a function, every day there are interviews, a lot of interaction. I like people, so praise God. I don't have a challenge, yeah?
Do you think you underestimated what it would take to lead as a representative or also a member of the THA?
I measure that by my moments of anxiety. If you're not, anxiety comes when something blindsides you a lot of times, right? And what has changed is the volume of interaction, the volume of attendees. Like, for example, we have the Independence Day Parade, we have gala dinners, we have Memorial Day. I'm not fazed by those. What phases me is not wise to say it on air, because my political adversaries, if they know I'm afraid of chickens, they're going to put a whole pack of them in my yard. So I wouldn't say I'm afraid of anything, but there are some things that might faze me in my humanity. Yeah, and I'm saying now that I think I'm doing a good job of managing them, right? I would admit that I would like to have accomplished a lot more at this stage. But looking at the job from the outside and getting in is different. Before I came in here, I used to look at things and says, well, look, now this is a pothole. Why can't they just come and patch it? But now that I'm here, although I still look for that same urgency, right? I understand the processes differently. And we need now to change the processes, change the policies to make things happen on time, And one of the great changes we need to make in Tobago, and I always put myself on a limb as a political person to say this, we need to change our ethic as a population in how we approach things. Let me ask you a question. What time you got up to get here this morning? What time do you normally get up?
Too early.
Too early. There you go. But for Tobago Updates to maintain its market share and increase its market share, you have to sacrifice.
Yes,
you have to go beyond your comfort zone. And that is where the greatest change has come for me. Because my family life, the amount of time I could spend with my family has changed. And I think it's a blessing that I came into this as a mature person compared to somebody who now had young children that have to leave before they wake up and get home after they've gone to bed. So my children are adults, thank God. And I'm enjoying the journey. Eh?
Okay.
I'm enjoying the journey, and as I said, I confess, I would have liked to do more. But we are working on those policies. They need to change, and Tobago people need to understand, because I hear people in the space talking political. I hear Kelvin Morris, I hear Watson Duke, and I hear them talking, and they're talking to a point and talking and directing their conversation to effect a certain response. People need to sit back and think things over. You need to sit back and think it over. There is no way a lot of the changes people are clamoring for could happen in the time that they want it to happen. It cannot happen.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm up, sorry, go on.
That's okay, that's fine. Now, you mentioned Watson Duke, and he sort of preempted my next question, because I was going to ask you, how did Mr. Duke's situation, a situation that unfolded between him and Chief Secretary Fali Augustin, how did that affect your position, whether it is within the party as a representative, how did it affect your constituents, your electoral district?
Yeah. It's a disappointing situation. It is disappointing. For me personally, but it didn't affect me because I have maximum confidence in Farley Chavez Augustine and his ability to do the job. And I think Mr. Duke knew that too when he asked him to serve there.
No, you mentioned that you have confidence in Mr. Augustine, but does that mean that did you not have a confidence in Mr. Duke?
Yes, I have a certain amount of confidence in everybody, you know. But the entire team knew, and the whole of Tobago knew, that this is Farley's time to lead Tobago. This is the man we need right now, right? I'm not saying that Mr. Duke doesn't have a role, but this is not his time. And it might be up for argument, but I've said it, yeah? And you know I can't really just talk as I want to talk right now. You know that, right?
Well, we would like you to. No, I mean, but how did that situation change your view on Mr. Duke? And
it didn't change it. I know Mr. Duke as a child. We grew up in Adventist church together. I was a bigger man to him, bigger boy to him as teenagers. And I remember a time in camp, as a 12-year-old, he challenged the leadership of the camp. He challenged the leadership of the camp. Said, this is not good enough. And I'm sitting there watching, well, who is this little fella? And that's how he has been. So what he does now, his utterances are not surprising, you know. So I've known him a long time. I will not see him as an adversary. I think that he made his decisions in the space. And he chose to do his firings and he chose to make his proclamations and so on. And that's his right to do. That's his right to do. But in a tense situation, I would say tense as we are trying to build back Tobago after the 21 years of decline. We are trying to build it back. And we do not have to have an agitator at this time. We need to have somebody who, more like a negotiator than an agitator.
Will there be a PDP after this? Are you still a member of the PDP?
Well, the PDP is the party that has commanded the majority of seats in the Tobago House of Assembly. So until a different decision is made, this is where we are at the moment, you know. And we stand resolute, we stand committed to the job we are doing as assemblymen. And I'm really impressed with the team. I'm really impressed with the team. The passion is there. I've never been in a group like this before where everybody just wants to do well. Everybody wants to see Tobago move to another level, and I think Chief Augustine's proclamation of developing the greatest little island has resonated with everyone, you know. There are persons who are, as in any situation, not everybody is happy at the pace of growth. But I used to work at TSTT, and we had a union leader named Tongzen. And in negotiation, when the company offered 4%, Tongzen used to refuse it. And all we're seeing is with Christmas shopping and look at things, take it. He says, hate me now and love me later. And by the time January, February, we get 7%, and Tongzen is the greatest person in the world all of a sudden. So, you know, it's a journey in life, you know. You mightn't get everything you want right now, but everybody is focused, and we know. And the strange thing is that, you know, like, there are segments of the society that would take a little longer to be affected positively. And there is where we need to continue conversing with the community, stay on the ground, give them that assurance. Listen, since I hear, I am in a position where I try to help people.
Right.
Biblically, I'm not supposed to be saying what I do, but the needs are great. And they tap into your resources. I think that should say enough.
Okay.
Right?
Now, I mean, we're getting ready to wrap up now.
Yes, miss.
And I just want you to take this opportunity to speak to your communities. Speak, first of all, to the people that voted for you under the PDP banner that might be hurt over that whole situation that happened and may be very confused. I mean, we're all watching and waiting to see what happens. But I want you to first speak to them and then speak to the wider community at large.
All right. So, I will should I limit my comments to who voted for me? Because those who voted for me I'm grateful, I'm happy for the support. When you win by 2 votes and then the recount shows 3 and then the recount shows 4, you can't help but be grateful. So I am not And I'll never be cocky about this job, because this job, to me, it was divinely ordained for me, and I'm going to do my best. So the persons in Buku, Monpezan, Canaan, I just want to urge you, where's my camera? I just want to urge you to be a bit patient. I am focused, I am committed, and I know that there are voices seeking to twist your concept of what is happening. Of course, in any situation, people will be finding faults in the whole process. It's harder when those faults add up to something that affects your appetite. You are hungry, you are getting wet, and these concerns are real. But I want to urge you to stay focused, understand that we are working in your best interest, and these challenges we have will be overcome. The island of Tobago, the greatest little island on the planet, I want us to start to ingest that concept and to start to look at where we can be. Now, Tobagonians are people anywhere you go, but everybody identifies themselves and seek to align themselves with a brand. And the brand that I know for Tobagonians was, first, we were hardworking people, we were family-centered people, we took pride in our homes especially, and I should have said first, but God forgive me, we are godly people. And I would like us to return to that sense of teamwork, that sense of family. We are all one family, and I believe that we could ride through any storm together. I will not claim perfection on the performance of my administration. I will not do that, but I know where the effort is happening. I know where it's happening. I know I'm in the engine room. I'm seeing it unfolding, and I believe and I trust God. And as a people, we could overcome any challenge together, right? I am not out here, we're not out here, no hatred thing for nobody or nothing like that. We are here to build the greatest little island on the planet. And I'm encouraging you to stay with us as we stay the course. We stay the course, and we are going to accomplish this together. Yeah?
All right. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Craig, for being on with us. Viewers, as the Assemblyman for Buku Mount Pleasant and the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And that's how we're going to have to wrap our show this morning, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. We really appreciate your dedication and the love that you show us each and every day. So continue to stay with us at Tobago Updates. And we have more. We're going to go through all of them. All of them are going to be put on the spotlight as we're going to dive into the past year of the present administration of the THA. All right, viewers, so have a wonderful, safe, and productive weekend. Take some rest. Do not litter. And we'll see you again on Monday.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and